Welcome to Understanding the Elements. Ancient philosophers and healers made sense of the material world by identifying four major elements: fire, earth, air, and water. Each element had a specific physical characteristic, and it also had a dynamic way of working with the other elements. Spirit, also referred to as ether, provided the invisible intelligence that directed the movement and interaction of the elements. We see the elements in action every day. The sun shines, it warms us, the rains fall, and it nourishes the earth so it can grow plants and trees. Living beings breathe air. Similarly, our bodies are composed of bone and flesh, which is earth. Our minds have thoughts and create emotions. So that's the air element creating water. Fire, Spirit's agent, animates us and provides the vitality necessary for movement and growth. It takes the right balance between fire, air, water, and earth to sustain life. That's why the planet here is such an incredible place. I started out with the idea of writing up a simple explanation to the elements, but it got way involved because when you add the elemental astrology to human design readings, the depth of knowledge just expanded. And the more I tried to put this into a box and put a framework around it, the harder it became. So I realized that I just needed to do a whole exposition of the elements. And so that's what I'm working on right now. So there is a symbiotic relationship between all forms, and each element plays an essential role in the formation of the world in which we live. Even though some elements seem like opposites, like fire and water, they actually have a very close kinship and they draw upon each other. My intention with doing this presentation on the elements is twofold. First, seeing your world through the lens of the elements engenders a deep appreciation for the magic that we call life and the nature, and also for being human. Secondly, understanding the elemental nature of your design offers you a simple way to respond to life. For example, when you know you have a lot of fire element, you can stop judging yourself for being too changeable, too blunt, and too impatient. This is just the way you are. The blessing inherent with each element is learning how to tame and harness its power. And I hope to give you some clues on how to do that through these workshops that I want to be sharing with you. Since I studied traditional Chinese medicine many years ago, my world has turned into observing the interaction between the elements. The ancient Chinese and Ayurvedic healers mastered an understanding of the elements and how they work together, and that's the principle that they use in their healing work. And they use different elemental foods and practices to calm an excessive or destructive pattern and restore or reinforce a deficient or a weak aspect of an element in a person. They use these elements to understand people. There was the physical element. There is the heart emotional element. There is the soul spirit element. The Chinese medicine actually embodies the body, mind, spirit as a part of its treatment philosophy. And so with the elements, they use the elements in a healing way to restore balance and harmony into a person's body and into their life, and to help them reconnect to their body and calm the mind and let the spirit come home to roost in the heart in a harmonious sort of a flow. There's also the art of Feng Shui, which is about, the art of placing objects and utilizing the flow of elements to balance a person's environment in their life. So it's easy to visualize how water or earth can put out a campfire, and how a fire can consume a huge volume of woody debris in just a short time, and at the same time emit heat and light and leave a big pile of ash. Rain falls from the sky, helping plants to grow from the earth, warmed by the sun. Mysterious creatures live deep in the oceans, and rocky headlands kept the earth from washing away too quickly. there are unusual weather events where it can be raining and the sun shining. That's when we see a rainbow. So these elements are active all around us in nature, and they can't really be separated. I mean, even when you have a fire, fire burns, but it needs air to burn, and it's creating ash. It's always transforming, and it's like these are all parts of a greater whole. So we, as a human life form, are also composed of the elements. We are mostly water, which is the emotional element. And in body reflexology, that this reflects the emotions. And of course, the emotions are broken down into blood, or to the lymph and the urine, which reflect different aspects of emotions. We are flesh, muscle, and sinew, representing our thought forms. The muscles, the muscles in our body and in body reflexology represent, our thought patterns. So when we have some stiff areas, we can go take a look and say, what kind of thoughts have I been thinking over and over and over again? Fire animates our body and helps the blood circulate, which brings nutrients to all the cells in our body. We require air to breathe and draw life force into our bodies. In body reflexology, the bones and our structure relates to our connection to spirit. They also represent the earth. We work with the elements every minute of every day. We breathe air, we think, we talk, we eat food that supports our body, we move, we feel. The flow of elements takes an inspiration and turns it into an idea, which draws and invites the primordial waters to yield the material form of the inspiration. Each element plays a role. If one is missing, creation doesn't work. In astrology, each planet and sign are associated with a specific element. Depending on where the planets are when you were born, creates a specific snapshot of your elemental constitution for your body, your mind, and your spirit. For example, if you were born with a lot of planets in a fire sign, you will be passionate, enthusiastic about your life, and not very grounded. Luckily, spirit and our soul built in checks and balances in our charts to help keep us on track. We have free will and choice, which complicates the expression of our natural self. In the case of the strong fire person, perhaps there is water or earth in key places that help direct that passionate energy. Each element has a theme in the way it expresses. There is a natural way to express. And then there's an out of balance way to express. And then there's the soul's desire or the higher expression of that element. For example, in the case of the fire person, the natural expression for a fire person is bold and active and inspiring and activating. But when fire gets out of balance, it can show up as being overindulgent, excessive behaviors, and overly active, or conversely, just plain flat out exhausted, burned out, and depressed. The high expression of fire is to recognize that their behaviors and their blunt truths serve a purpose, and they are here to wake people up and keep them on their spiritual track. And their challenge is to not take other person's reactions personally, which is a real challenge for fire. Most likely, you have experienced certain patterns of behavior in yourself and in others. You've observed others. Perhaps you've seen an overly indulgent, high energy fire person in your life. And so you can relate to that sort of an information. Understanding what these behaviors represent give you immense power over your life. And you can take charge of how you respond and how you react. Often, you'll have an inkling about something, which is water, but you can't put words to it. That's air. It's like the message is hidden, water, and you need someone with another perspective to identify what you can't put your finger on, air and fire. For example, water people are highly sensitive and can feel the pain and suffering of others and of the whole world. This sensitivity can affect their health and She can feel pain in her body and maybe gains weight to protect herself. She thinks there's something wrong with her and gets depressed. And then she goes and gets antidepressants and other medications, but they don't work. She judges herself, becomes serious, and wonder if life is really worth all the pain and misery. It can be very, depressing, disheartening. Once she understands the source of the pain, that this is a natural way, that she's naturally empathic to, and she is designed to feel and understand the emotions and the emotional impact of the world, then she can learn how to deal with it and not let it control her life. Discovering your personal elements and how they show up in your life and in your interactions between people can become a great tool for you to catch yourself in one of those self-sabotaging moments or silence an inner critic. You quickly learn to tell yourself, oh, that's my fear of rejection speaking, or I don't need to buy into her complaining, that's natural for her. Or you can just simply become the observer of yourself and of others and see how life in the world opens up before your eyes. Nature becomes more magical. You trust your inspiring words that seem to fall on deaf ears actually seep in, and they will lay dormant until the right timing. You trust that Spirit has your back, and you allow yourself to flow with life. Here are some things to notice about yourself and other people that will help you understand how elements play out in your life. What kind of music do you listen to? Do you listen to the words? Is it upbeat and exciting, or is it calm and sedate? Do you like jazz or rock or blues or country western or new age? I mean, there's a wide variety of music, but what you choose to listen to will be a clue into your personal elemental personality. Watch how people move their bodies. Do they move gracefully, sinewy, like water, like flowing? Or are they sedate and stiff and rigid, which is more of like an earth and even sometimes fire? Are they quick and bouncy, like fire and air? Notice what part of their body has more resistance to movement, and that will relate to a certain set of belief patterns. Each element has a specific way it expresses through the personality. An earth person is an earth dominant person, a person that has a lot of earth in their chart. Maybe their sun is earth, or their moon is earth, or their ascendant, or they just have a lot of earth planets. They will be down to earth. They see the world as material. This person is grounded, stable, and relates to the world and other people through their physical senses. A person with a lot of water feels everything and has easy access to other realms, is very intuitive, empathic, and has psychic abilities. The water person experiences the world and other people through their feelings. And if you listen to a water person or an air person or an earth person speak about how they engage with the world, you get clues into their basic elemental personality again, because water will talk about feelings. The sun feels so good today. The earth will say, it's so I can the chair feels very solid, so I mean, even though they're using the word feel, it's what they describe. And an air person has the gift of storytelling, and they love to talk. They love to study. They got a very keen intellect, and they love to think, and they're curious about everything, and they jump ship all the time, and they're like sparks, they go every which way. This person has a keen mind and their intellectual relationship with the world. And that's how they engage with the world, is through their intellect. They think about things. And they engage with other people. They like to talk. They think. They share their thoughts. A fire-dominant person, like air, is not very connected to the physical environment. Fire is like the bridge between heaven and earth and has a strong connection to spirit. A fire person is active and moving and shifting constantly. They are bluntly truthful and outwardly expressive. A fire person relates to the world with a otherworldly perspective. It's they sort of like can see a bigger picture. They relate to the world through energy. They see energy. They move energy. They can seem very ungrounded to others because a lot of times they're off on some other planet or out in space or just having, they're flitting all over the place. Like the tongues of flame, they go every which way. They kind of stay in one place, but they reach for the sky. They share their inspirations and they talk in lofty concepts and ideals rather than practical methods, feelings, or stories. Each one of us is a unique combination of the elements. Understanding your personal elements' strengths offers a quick and easy way for you to see and understand yourself and understand others. Once you know how to work with your personal elemental design, you can avoid getting upset when someone says or does something that affronts your sensitive nature. You can stop yourself from feeling guilty when you blurt out the truth that another person needed to hear but didn't want to, and not take their reaction personally. Think of your life like a fantastic story where you are the heroine. The people around you are your key characters. They'd either support you or hinder you. Like any good story, there has to be a theme and a plot. Now that I've been writing stories recently over the last several years, and I've discovered something really neat, that as the author, if I don't like how things are going, I can go back and change the course of action. I can change the characters. I can change their traits. I can even readjust the plot line. And we can do the same thing in our lives, but we have to have a story to tell first. And that's where the codes that are in our birth codes, in our astrology and human design charts, give us that plot and that theme. And then it's up to us how we want to live out that theme. When we come to telling our personal stories and our narratives, we need characters, an overall mission, a theme, and something that the characters must do, and obstacles that must be overcome. And these are all part of us they're all laid out in our birth codes. The heroine has strengths she doesn't know she has, and also flaws that sabotage her and creates tension. Villains throw hurdles, create mountains, and undermine her so that she can learn and grow and expand and become more than who she was when she started. There are several key planetary influences that dominate our elemental design and dictate the plot of our story. They are the sun, and I will go into a little more detail with when I go into the planets and the gates and the charts. The sun represents your essence. It's your personality, your ego, and the method of self-expression. It is your life force, your personal will, and the motivation to action. It's daytime. It's light. It's vitality. It's creativity. It's leadership, and it's happiness. And all the energies of all the other planets, they funnel through the self-expression of the sun. The moon represents your emotional style and the default way you protect yourself and you deal with stress. You see the moon at night, generally. Sometimes it's out in the day when it's, in the crescent. And she represents the dark side and what's hidden, the shadow side. She influences conversations, but very subtly because it's not conscious. It's not conscious thought. It's unconscious. And the moon represents your emotional temperament, such as hot-headed, or she's cool and collected, or she's just cold and aloof, unapproachable, or scattered, or a lot of different ways of identifying emotions in the moon. So she represents how you tend to protect yourself and what makes you feel secure and your deep emotional needs. And she also represents your inner world and your inner child. The ascendant is that point in the constellation that is on the eastern horizon at the moment of your birth. It carries with it your heroine's story, the theme and the plot for this life. It's what your soul wants. Your soul expresses through the ascendant. The ascendant is the place where the soul energy first meets the physical world. And the soul has to figure out what it means to be human. It's a process of trial and error that takes a lifetime to master. The ascendant represents your soul's dream for you and the theme for your destiny. It represents the physical body, how the soul is manifests here in this earth through your physical body. Your physical body is like the temple for the soul, so that you can engage with the environment and engage with others. The soul does not have an ego, and it is here to serve for the greater good. The soul doesn't need attention or approval to fulfill its purpose, and it will go about fulfilling its purpose, whether you're conscious of it or not. The earth represents the physical foundation from which your sun can express itself. It is how your sun's theme is grounded. In your chart, earth is opposite the sun, which sets up a tension between the two celestial bodies. So then earth becomes the vehicle to ground your unique expression and your unique themes that flow through the sun. And there's one other planet I'm going to talk about just briefly. This is a major player in this whole theme of what is your life story, and where are you going, and how are you, and the struggles that you have to overcome, because Saturn is the planet that brings you the lessons and the challenges. It's the one that creates the box of limitations so that you have something to work within while you're here in this physical form. So Saturn is like the teacher and is the taskmaster, and it's kind of like the master of your destiny. It's like what it makes you want to master so that you can live your destiny. The placement of Saturn represents the challenges and the lessons and the limitations and the determined discipline that you need to master your destiny. These key influences are instrumental in getting a snapshot of who you are and of your life purpose. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this, this recording, and I'm going to go into being more specific about the four major elements. And the first one I'm going to talk about is going to be fire. So I look forward to you in the next video.